Tonight on the 10, Thanksgiving travel in 2020.
Nothing has been easy this year, so if you're headed out for the holiday, what do you need to know?
From the skies.
It looks like people are more inclined to travel now than maybe they were earlier this year.
To the roads.
And all the COVID precautions along the way.
Do you want to take a chance?
The 10 on NECN starts now. I can't talk about Thanksgiving and not think about the smell of turkey. And it's not even just the turkey, Tim. It is the stuffing. That is the main attraction at the Bruno household every Thanksgiving.
With the weather today, it feels like I just want to put gravy on everything.
Yes.
I'm a big green bean casserole guy. Is that weird?
No, I know there's a lot of people like you that
we all look
like
forward
that.
to different things in the holidays. Half of it about Thanksgiving is about the food. The other half, spending time with loved ones, right? And we are all thinking about our Thanksgiving plans already. My family had the call the last weekend, what we're going to do. But we're all going to need to make some sort of adjustments to these traditions, all because of COVID-19 this year. The amount of wine, though, Jackie, I'm going to drink is going to remain the same, no adjustments there. That'll still be a bottle of red for me.
No matter your location.
No matter where I'm at, yeah.
Same. I might go white, though, but I'm local, so the answer may not be as complicated, but a lot of people, they have to travel, and they may be struggling with a lot of these questions, like, can I travel? Should I be around loved ones, especially if they're older? Tough questions, really, and ones that a lot of families out there are grappling with right now, even a family whose patriarch, Tim, that so many of us look up to for guidance.
We know him, we love him. Dr. Fauci.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah.
He recently spoke about how he will be spending his holiday, and apparently it won't be with his 3 daughters.
We would love for them to come home for Thanksgiving. They have said themselves, Dad, you know, you're a young, vigorous guy, but you're 79 years old. Therefore, I'm coming from a city where there's infection. My sister's coming from a city where there's infection. And my other sister's coming from the city. We would love to be with you, but you know what we want you to do? We want you and Mommy to have a nice, quiet dinner, maybe have a neighbor next door that always comes over the house that you know that's negative, and we'll send all love via Zoom.
I love Uncle Tony there.
Oh my God, just so great. In a safer year, I really would like to join him for Thanksgiving. Doesn't he seem great? And so he's playing it safe, and for good reason. He says everyone needs to make smart decisions this holiday season to avoid spreading the virus. And even though Thanksgiving is still weeks away, now is really the time to start thinking about how you'll celebrate the holiday. And that is our starting point tonight.
Yeah, before we bring out the gravy, let's go over the new CDC guidelines that are specifically for Thanksgiving, because they're thinking ahead as well. Here's what they consider low-risk activities: having a small dinner with only people who live in your household, which is certainly one way to avoid those arguments with that one uncle you don't agree with politically. He won't be there. Can't go out to a parade, but you do what I do every year. You watch sports and movies from home with the family, maybe. And the CDC also suggests taking part in a virtual dinner, maybe sharing recipes with family or friends over Zoom. Unconventional, but could be interesting. Well, then you got what's considered high risk from the CDC. Things like crowded house gatherings with people outside your household. The traditional holiday when people travel from far and wide, kind of like the one time you see that cousin you never see. They also suggest against going to big shopping stores on the holiday or on Black Friday. They consider that higher risk as well, Jackie.
And then there's the question of traveling. A recent poll by the traveler app Hopper shows a lot of Americans aren't comfortable with traveling right now, with 39% of Americans saying, no way, I'm staying home. 21% say they're staying home even though they usually travel around this time. And then there's another 39% that say that they know the risk, but they're still going. And for those people who are traveling, more than half of them say this is actually going to be the first time that they have traveled since the pandemic started. So, you know, big change there for a lot of people.
That's a pumpkin pie chart. Hope you appreciate that. As for infectious disease experts, the weeks around Thanksgiving specifically, going to be a really important time to watch this year. And our Brian Burnell spoke to an epidemiologist about how a typical family Thanksgiving can be a recipe for a COVID cluster this year.
The holidays in particular will be extremely important. We've known this for some time.
Dr. William Hanage is a Harvard epidemiologist who says COVID-19 clusters are a concern over the holidays. He points to the 3 C's: closed spaces, close contact, and crowding.
And it's fairly easy to see how those 3 could easily come all together when it comes to the holidays. So, poorly ventilated indoor spaces are a risk for transmission. We also know that a further risk for transmission is eating.
And that essentially describes Thanksgiving.
We have a big Italian family. You know, we play football every Thanksgiving.
Michelle Cassio's holiday is pretty typical. Lots of family and food.
This year it is going to be a little bit different just because we do have like a lot of newborn little cousins in the family. So this year we're just kind of keeping to like ourselves. You know, we'll FaceTime, so we're still going to see each other.
Others are going to go big anyway and trust.
The people in our family, if we know they're not sick and they don't have anything, we trust each other, so we know if anyone's sick or anyone's grabbing anything from COVID.
But caution seems to be the watchword for most.
Not this year because of COVID-19. It's better to be safe.
Absolutely nothing. If someone invites me, I can't. I can't take a chance. I don't know who they know.
It's a good point. Now, that was Brian Burnell reporting. And as you just heard, some people plan on staying home. Others still will be heading out. So if they are heading out, how are they traveling? Now, some will be driving. And according to Hopper, 15% say they'll take their own car to get to their Thanksgiving Day plans. 2% said they plan on renting a car. Now, just 1% said that they plan on getting on a crowded train. While the majority, though, they'll still be traveling. 52% admit that they are going to fly this year, Tim.
Yeah, a lot of people traveling across country. We're trying to figure that out, too, within our family. Travel clearly down all across the board this year. The airline industry actually was hoping for a break, and they had their eye on Thanksgiving, always on their radar year-round. And it appears for airlines this Thanksgiving will be just as memorable as last year, but for all the wrong reasons. Here's Mark Schaldrop from AAA Massachusetts on what a difference a year makes.
We expect numbers to be down significantly as compared to last year. Last year, we had record-breaking travel during Thanksgiving weekend, and that is by car and by air. So this year, we expect a big falling off or a drop-off from last year.
Last year was quite incredible. The TSA says last year, the Sunday after Thanksgiving was the busiest day in the history of that agency, with 2.8 million people screened on that single day. Compare that to the entire month of April this year. There were about 3 million people screened, almost the same number of travelers over that 30-day span compared to that single day a couple days after Thanksgiving last year.
And we also asked him about when to buy tickets if you are going to fly. Now, traditionally, people would have had their plans locked in by now, and some might, but with the unpredictability of everything, others may try to wait until Thanksgiving or gets a little closer. Now, if you are going to be one of those people waiting, here's what he had to say.
I would say definitely look ahead, plan ahead. So as normal in normal times, if you are booking last minute, you're going to be paying more. And also the Thanksgiving holiday prices tend to be higher than other times of year. So if you're looking for airfare and looking for deals, now's the time to look. But I wouldn't be surprised if you are going to be paying a little bit more than you might expect, because there is some expectation that people will be taking to the skies.
And we put that to the test. We used Google Flights to look at prices for a trip from Boston to Miami on two typically of the busiest travel days around Thanksgiving, the Wednesday before and the Sunday after. But the dark blue point you see on your screen, those are the days that your tickets would be around $446 round trip. Now, if you waited until December 1st or after, you can go to Miami for as low as $100 round trip, which now makes me think, should I go? No, it's a pandemic, Jackie.
No, you want not a vacation. You're going to be seeing family, but obviously like 4 times more expensive for that weekend, even while the airline industry is struggling. Well, sitting on a plane for several hours with a bunch of people, a bunch of strangers at that, definitely a high-risk activity as well. It's a compact space. We know it's got the recycled air. But if you do have to fly, experts say wearing a mask can help, social distancing can help. Some of the airlines trying to help with that too. Yeah, they really are. And 6 feet really is difficult on a plane, but some are really trying to help. As you said, Alaska Airlines is one of the ones that's trying to block out those middle seats. Delta Airlines, Hawaiian Airlines, and Southwest Airlines as well. All 4 of those airlines are going to be blocking that middle seat through November 30th at the least. Now, Hawaiian says they're going to be doing that for the foreseeable future, and Delta's end date is currently January 6th of next year. Does that make a difference to you? Yeah. Have you ever had somebody in between that like? I mean, in a pandemic, I don't like to sit next to people either way. But in a pandemic, would you fly if you knew the seat was open? I mean, I probably wasn't going to fly anyway, although now that Hawaii is on the table. You mentioned earlier, you haven't flown in the pandemic either, right? I haven't flown at all, so I guess this would be a no for me. But a lot of people haven't traveled yet. Another important thing to think about when you're flying, you want to check those travel restrictions for the state you're going to, also for the state you're coming back to, one of the states here in New England. Exactly. Take Massachusetts, for example. Almost everyone flying in from a state that is not labeled as low risk will need to do the following. Fill out a Massachusetts travel form. Then you have to agree to a 14-day
quarantine upon arrival. You have to produce a negative COVID-19 test that was administered within 72 hours of your arrival here if you don't want to quarantine. Now, if not, you can quarantine until you get a negative test. And failure to do any of these could mean that you could face a $500 per day fine. That's a lot of money.
Absolutely, and you also want to check with your work because they might have stricter rules than the state. Wink, wink. Now, when it comes to hitting the road and getting to your destination, driving actually considered a low-risk activity, but there are levels to this too. Obviously, the CDC says this comes with some stipulations. They say the short trips with no stops along the way, that is the safest way to travel while driving because you're not going to run into any other people. The more stops you take, or more people traveling with you who are not in your household, that's when the risk goes up. And if you're taking public transportation, a train or a bus or otherwise, that is the kind of medium risk because of obviously all the potential of running into strangers and just people you don't know.
Have you ever traveled with a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old?
I can't say that I have.
A lot of stops. I have to pee. I have to pee. About an hour every hour.
But you're doing it at home, so you should be okay.
We're going to be just fine. Stuffing at my house.
All right.